Welcome to Donna's Happy Hour. I am here at Blue Arrow Farm, and I have the great pleasure of introducing you to, for the first time on my show, Nick Pappalardo. Nick is a young musician that I saw here at Blue Arrow, and I said, I have to get that young man on my show. He does a lot of jazz, and today he will be doing an acoustic, some of his original music, but then some improvs as well. So I want you to remember his name because I'm hoping I'll see a lot more of him on my show. So grab your drinks, whatever they may be, because I'm hoping you'll spend the next hour with me. Good afternoon, good morning, I should say, or afternoon. I'm not really sure what we're on here. We have a warm fire and some heaters to be able to do our show here because, as you know, due to COVID, we have to stay 6 feet apart and trying to follow all the rules. Which I understand, you know. So Nick, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, as I said, I saw Nick one night here, and we got to talk a little bit, not very much, honestly, due to all the music that was playing that night. It was kind of hard to hear, but we did manage to exchange numbers. So, as I said, we were here at Blue Arrow, and it was a jazz night, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It was like a mix of like jazz and blues. I know a lot of people were doing blues, and some people kind of
right. It was kind of a free for all, I guess. Yeah. I think it was supposed to start out a blues jam, but that was okay because it was actually very interesting, you know. But that's how I met Nick. He was here, and I really haven't, we've kind of communicated, but so whatever I get from him today is the first time really hearing it. But I did pick up that you are a session musician?
Yeah, so I ended up studying music in college, and I went for music industry, and that was performance, production, and also the business aspects kind of crammed into one, and it was a great experience. So I learned how to play many different styles of music. And part of the deal was, you know, when you go to music school, you meet a lot of other musicians and people who have different styles of their own, and everybody's always asking you to play on their records, and so it was kind of it was definitely a learning experience then to kind of take influence from everybody and make it into your own and mix it up. So when I started doing that, the word travels. People say, "Hey, I would love to have a guitarist on this song. Hey, who can I go to?" And sure enough, the more and more stuff that you do, your name travels.
Right.
And that's kind of how I started doing everything. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I have to tell you, the night that I saw him, he was playing an electric guitar. And I was truly impressed, I have to say. You know, I grew up with rock and roll, you know, so, but one of the things that I always did is I always found myself very, I'd get very engrossed in watching the guitarist go up and down, you know, the guitar. That didn't hit me, did it? It sounded like it did, sorry, as my hair goes up in flames. But I always found it very, very interesting. and he was so comfortable behind that guitar. You really were. You could tell that you were totally enjoying the moment and enjoying, because I think at that point, was it an improv that you guys were doing at that point that night?
So if I remember it correctly, we did a couple tunes. I believe one of them was "Sunny" by Bobby Ebb, and that was a cover. So we played the main melody that he sang on the tune, and I played the melody, the vocal line on the guitar, and then I ended up playing that twice, and then once when the main melody is played, a lot of times in jazz or blues, the guitarist or whoever the solo instrumentalist is, they'll do an improvisation around that melody, and that's kind of where you start conveying ideas to other musicians, and it almost becomes interactive, and it becomes a very interesting experience because there's a lot of things that happen in the moment that you maybe don't prepare for, you know.
Right. I was going to say that's probably really very satisfying because things do come out of it that aren't so structured,
right,
which is really nice, you know, so you can veer off.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to ask you because I was trying to reach Nick one day and wound up reaching his father. And that was very interesting. Your father has obviously a good sense of humor, and but he too is a musician, and he's a drummer.
Yeah, he's a drummer. He's been playing for quite some time, and I know he started when he was really young, and he just kind of listened to records and tried to play the drums from the records. So it almost becomes an educational experience in itself, learning from, like, hey, how did the guys do
right. It is very interesting to me to find out how a lot of musicians learned. Many of them are self-taught, that they, you know, would sit down on the drums and try to learn how to play a song that they really like. Right. And that was your dad, okay. Yeah. Now, did he ever go into playing guitar or just stuck with?
I think he, I believe he tried taking up guitar lessons, and that was when he started drums, actually, when he was younger, and I think he felt more natural on the drums. So he's kind of stuck there.
It's, you know, it's really interesting to hear that because so many times you hear, who was it that was telling me? I think it was Chris, actually. He was saying that once he put that guitar in his hands, he knew that was it. That was the instrument for him, you know. And your dad, obviously, with the drums. Now, did your dad ever? Is he a session musician or?
So he played with a band called the Cheap Vibes, and they did a lot of garage psychedelic rock. So that was his thing for a while, and then he. I believe before that, actually, he just did some various cover bands. So he kind of. He was playing a lot of rock music, covered rock music, and then, but the Cheap Vibes were an original group.
How about your mom?
So my mom is, she doesn't play any instruments. But she definitely has a lot of appreciation for music. Both my parents are, I give them a lot of credit for exposing me to different kinds of music, being supportive of it. So
that's great. Now, I will say that I know that you've been working on a CD, so he's been hitting the studio.
Yeah. So I ended up writing some funk and jazz music. I have a lot of influences from the jazz fusion of the 70s, that type of sound.
All right.
I'm a big fan of Chick Corea.
Okay,
and,
yeah, good choice.
Yeah, and Miles Davis, and
Right.
a lot of these jazz artists that kind of took in the 70s the rock route of,
right.
Introducing jazz harmony with rock music and upbeat and different kind of rhythms. So I started writing stuff similar to that because it's very different, and
Right.
it's not necessarily going for it's not going for a certain idea. It's very just accepting of what it is.
What it is. Well, you know, it's one of the things, especially with jazz, is you have to feel it.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously somebody that winds up becoming a jazz musician is feeling it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to be able to fake that one too much, you know.
It's very tough to fake your way through it. At some point, you kind of you study scales, or even if you're not trained or anything, you look at scales that can be used and applied over certain chords. So when you're in a musical setting and those chords come up, you know what devices to use to outline the harmony there.
The harmony, right.
So when you start using that and you have an understanding of how harmony works and melody and then also rhythm, those three aspects come together, and that's what we call music. So a lot of it, it's feeling. It's kind of just going with your instincts as well. So it's applying those tools of your instincts as well as your knowledge.
Right. And as you said, you know, when you look back at other artists that inspired you, you know, you take that as also part of your learning tool, part of your what you create, you know. Whether you're trying to or not, it's there, you know. I am actually in the midst of reading a book by Carlos Santana.
Oh, no way.
And yes, my gosh, you need to read this book then.
What's the name of it?
You're going to ask me that, aren't you? I don't remember the name of the book, but it's a great book. Yeah. You're going to love it because he, you know, well, his father was a musician.
Oh, wow.
But he actually started not on an electric guitar, but he also, once he put that guitar, the electric guitar, in his hands, he said,
you know,
that was it, you know, for him. But he had it's a very interesting story, so I don't want to tell you too much about it, but because I want to know more about you.
Yeah.
So now I asked Nick to bring some photos.
Yes, I actually have.
You have them, okay, and they're over there.
Yeah.
I asked Nick to bring some photos of himself when he was younger and then kind of in between, you know. I love doing that. And this one got me because you had it posted on Facebook, and I was like, oh my goodness. And there's no words. There's just no words. So I'm just going to show it to you. And I hope that you can see the look on his face, the utter happiness. He's got this huge grin, which of course you can see. He's got a smile that's killer. But I love this photo of you. How old are you here?
I had to have been about maybe 4.
So
if then.
You were already into guitars at that.
Right around that age, I started. My dad actually introduced me to the band Yes, and I saw a live performance of them at the House of Blues, and I watched the guitar player Steve Howe, and within about 3 or 4 seconds, I already decided that would be the instrument.
No kidding. Oh, and you were how old then?
I had to have been about 3 or 4.
Oh my gosh!
I loved music before I knew how to speak the English language.
Wow. So in the womb, you were like rocking along. And your mother's like, stop that. Oh my gosh, wow. Okay, so now this one I did not see. And so I'm just going to.
That was
this. You're a little older. We jumped a little bit.
Yeah. So had to have been about 15.
Okay.
And so that's when I started getting a lot more serious with music.
Okay.
I went from when I was younger, I took some lessons, and then I ended up stopping around that age because I felt like I could teach myself and venture on.
Oh, okay, really? Okay.
And that picture was of me in a studio in Hamburg.
Okay.
It was, the guy who owned it was Mark Salamone, and he did a lot of producing for various artists. And I ended up taking some vocal lessons with him, and also just some audio production lessons as well. But that was we ended up recording just a little demo there, and he ended
Wow.
up snagging that photo, and yeah, it's cool.
So let me ask, when was your first time in a studio?
Actually, it was that.
It was that one, okay.
That
Oh,
moment,
interesting,
yeah.
okay. All right, wow.
That was the first time.
Wow. And how, obviously, it's quite different from a live performance.
Yeah. Yeah, so like a studio setting, you could do however many takes as you want.
Right.
And you can work on ideas and detail them a little bit more.
Right.
Whereas when you're in a live performance, the moment is
Is
happening.
right. It is what it is.
It
That's
is what
right.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. You can. I guess it's very much like this. When I used to do a live show, so it is what it is. Whatever happened happened. Whereas here you have a little more flexibility. Yes. So it's the
Absolutely.
same as with a studio.
Absolutely. And it's when you're in a live setting, you have an audience, which I believe they're just as much of a part of the music as
Right.
the
There's
person playing it.
nothing like a live audience. I used to do theater. I used to do musicals, and there's nothing like a live audience.
Right.
In my estimation of things. Each medium, because I've done TV commercials and I've done movies, is different, but I like doing live.
Yeah,
it's really.
It's just a beautiful moment you get to share with everybody.
Exactly, that's right. Yes, it is, yeah. Now, the CD that you're working on, do you have a name for the CD yet?
So I have an idea of what the name could be.
Okay.
I've been going with it for a couple months now, but
It could change.
It could change. But as far as we know now, I'm going with it's called Far Out because it's mainly directed to be not like
I like it.
not going towards commercial success. It's more about
Right.
the music
Right.
itself
Okay.
and just conveying ideas.
Okay.
Where I feel like a lot of music nowadays, it could be like computerized and it kind of takes away some of the emotion from it. Where
Right.
Here it's kind of rebelling against that idea
Oh,
and
wow.
just going towards, it wants to communicate an idea of, hey,
Okay.
this is about feeling.
Feeling, okay.
and-
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. Well, I can't wait. Now, is that your first, let me ask you this, is that your very first CD that you'll be putting out, or do you have others?
I released one in 2018, and
Oh, you
that
did?
was done at my college's studio. I went to the College of St. Rose in Albany, New
okay.
York, and I released an album called Impressions,
Oh.
and that was my first CD. However, I ended up taking it down because I wanted to remix it
Okay.
and kind of
It wasn't up
remaster
to
it.
your
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that happens because as you grow, you look back and you listen
Yeah.
to it. But sometimes it is best to leave that
it.
alone,
100% agree.
I mean, it's
100% agree.
it's tough.
Yeah,
So-
it's always that artist that you kind of
Right.
You always want to make things better.
Better. It's true. It's true. That's like I like to draw. And sometimes you get done, and you
critique it.
you can you critique it, and then sometimes you go back, and then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done
You're
that.
right.
But it's a learning process too.
It is.
It's like you have to figure all this out. In regards to actually starting to play, so you, at 3 or 4, when you went to see Yes, that is adorable, which a great band,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know, yeah, I could see why it influenced you. When did you get your first guitar?
I got my first guitar, I believe. So my parents ended up buying me, and this was out of a toy store. It was an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And they weren't, because I said I wanted to play guitar, and before they made the investment,
Right.
they're like, let's see how long he sticks with it.
How long he sticks with it, right,
And
smart.
and I had this guitar, and the strings were about 3 or 4 inches off the fretboard, and it was really hard to press down,
Right.
and it tore up my fingers. But I stood by the CD player, and I was just listening to how the harmony was trying to form, and I didn't really know it at the time.
Right.
But I started getting down some chords, and then about a year later, my parents bought me, it was an Ibanez jazz
Oh,
hollow
no,
body.
okay.
And that's when I started.
That must have been like night and day.
It didn't leave my side.
Oh,
I'm
my
pretty sure
gosh.
I fell asleep with it in my hands.
Oh,
That's how
my God,
much I
really?
played.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, that's the other amazing thing. When I listen, you know, when I interview people, I find it so fascinating to find out when they became involved. And as a matter of fact, and I tell this story a lot, and you're going to hear it again. A friend of mine, her daughter, one day, I called her up and we're chatting, and I hear somebody in the background playing the piano, and I could tell it was a song from The Lion King, and I'm like, who's playing the piano? Because I knew it wasn't my girlfriend, and I knew it wasn't her husband, and I knew I think her other daughter was not even living at the house at that point, and she said, Gail, and I went, now, Gail was all of 4.
Wow.
And I go, but she's using both hands.
That's
Yeah.
tough.
I go, and how did she learn to play it? She taught herself. She also taught herself at 4 years old how to read sheet music.
Wow. Wow.
So
some people just have it. You know?
well, to me, I just, you know, and you have to either, you know, believe that, you know, if they lived in, you know, reincarnation, like, how could I mean, like Mozart, how could that be? You know, it's just amazing. But it's also hereditary, you know, because the same thing with artists, you know, like that paint. It's usually something that they inherit. A good ear for music, a good vocal, you know, being able to sing. It's usually hereditary.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting because I feel like some minds are just equipped know, from the start to excel in that or follow that through.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly, yeah. And there again, it's some people never had any lessons in their life.
And they could play amazing.
And they can play amazing, you know. Or, as a matter of fact, my brother is one of those people. He never had a vocal lesson in his life. Wow. And his voice is just phenomenal, you know. It's just there, you know.
Yeah, I think it also comes just from love of the art of art itself.
Well, that's the other thing too. Yes, you know, and it's a gift, you know, and that's what I guess a gift is. You know, is that it's something that you are just born with, and some people use it, some people don't. You know, which is so sad. But it is an amazing, and it just. That's why I guess that I do what I do here, because I love music, and I sit there and I'm like one of those people that, again, I danced. So I never really learned how to play an instrument, although I did start actually with the cajon now.
Oh, cool.
So I'm playing the cajon. I am yes, I'm loving, you know, because that was easy to transfer your feet kind of to the rhythm, you know.
You can feel it.
Exactly, you can feel it. It's not quite the same, but you know.
The more and more you get used to it.
Well, you know, the other thing too is that I was trained to, obviously, with my feet, you know, you're going to the rhythm of the music, and it's kind of the same in that sense, obviously.
Can carry some things over.
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting. There's definitely a lot of trial and error too. Whatever you do, you know, whether even people who maybe it looks as if, wow, you know, they just picked it up so easy.
Right.
What it took to get there is a lot of experimentation, seeing what works and what doesn't.
What doesn't work. Well, you know, come to mind is recently I was watching a program in regards to the hoofers, and these guys had no formal training in tap dancing because
Wow.
that tap was my thing. And to watch them was absolutely amazing. I mean, they're doing, when you, which I did, take tap classes and lessons, the two hardest steps is what they call a single wing and a double wing, okay? And it takes a long time to perfect that, you know? And don't ask me to do it. Sorry. Wouldn't be pretty. But I used to be really, really good at it. So, but I'm watching these guys who I know had no formal training, and they're doing double wings and single, and it's making it look easy. And where did, obviously they watched maybe somebody that did it and just kept trying and trying and trying, and it's the same thing, at the guitar. must have sat there with that guitar and said, you know, you saw somebody either, doing a certain song, or you heard a certain song, and you're like, I'm going to get that darn thing if it kills.
Yeah, and it's still like that nowadays.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I listen to records, and there's a couple artists like George Benson and Pat
Right.
Martino.
Yes.
That like some of them, they make everything look so easy, and it's so expressive, and it's what I'm starting to learn now is I'm trying to play what's in my mind rather than visually looking at the guitar and seeing what's available.
Right.
I think it's very direct at that point when you're playing what's in your head, and
Right.
it becomes very personal at
Right.
that point. But it takes a lot of trial and error to see what's okay. What can I do? What seems comfortable to play, and what can I change about it?
Right.
And you're always fine tuning your style.
Well, of course, and also the transitions that you make. You know, you're constantly. I noticed one of the things today, and I noticed that the last time I saw you play, is that you're up and down that neck. You're like at the tippy top of it, and then all the way down to the bottom of it, and. I've seen a lot of music. They don't utilize, to me, the whole spectrum that you could,
Yeah, I mean the guitar is a very a physically demanding instrument. With the right hand picking,
Right.
and then you have the left hand moving up and down.
Right.
But when you have the fretboard, to me it's very difficult because you have the fret. You can ascend in pitch from left to right, and it looks like you're going up and down the guitar, and then also as
you're going
horizontally
right,
and
exactly,
vertically.
yes.
So there's a couple different aspects which you got to take into account. And it takes a while. I know I try to sing whatever I play, and that helps me kind of
interesting.
memorize it, and also I know whatever I'm playing to be true.
Oh, interesting. That's very interesting. I never thought of that. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And please,
Pleasure.
I don't want you to be a stranger. So, everybody, Nick Pappalardo, and remember his name. I'm sure you're going to be seeing a lot more of him.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Donna's Happy Hour is filmed on location at the Blue Arrow Farm.
It's Donna's happy hour, it's Donna's happy hour, it's Donna's happy hour, it's Donna's happy hour. Come on, get happy now, it's Donna's happy hour. Come on, get happy now, it's Donna's happy hour. Come on, get happy now, it's Donna's happy hour. It's Donna's happy hour, it's Donna's happy hour. It's Donna's happy hour, it's Donna's happy hour. It's Donna's happy hour. It's Donna's happy hour. It's Donna's happy hour. It's Donna's happy hour.